Hey y'all, welcome to Dungeons 101 with Erica. Today we're going to be doing Infernal Citadel. While we run through this dungeon, we're going to make sure that we pick up the title, the Fearless, and also the achievement, Out on a Limb. This is the first dungeon that we're going to tackle that is not part of the random advanced queue or random dungeon queue. However, it can be found as part of the Reaper's Challenge. When you load into this dungeon, right off the bat, there's going to be a bunch of mobs down here at the bottom. Previously, at one point in time, before they introduced the aggro rings that all of the tanks wear, you could just run by all of these enemies straight up the stairs into the gate. However, you can't really do that now. These things aggro on everything. So just make sure that you let your tanks lead in and grab aggro on the mobs before you just jump in and start wailing on them and trying to kill them. They hit pretty hard, so you want to make sure that your tank definitely is there getting aggro on those mobs. Once those mobs are defeated, you're just going to travel up these stairs, and there's going to be a cutscene that initiates once you get up there. At the top of the stairs, there's going to be 3 demons that you have the choice to interact with. The first demon, all the way on the left over here, if you speak to him, you'll see that this demon will give you the power. Take his pincer attack. It will stun and harm devils that can create devils. The second demon in the middle right here, his aura of flame will protect you from poison. It will help purge lesser devils. And this guy all the way on the right over here, his charm smashes chains and walls. No devil chain can withstand this. Generally, groups all take this power. In order to take a power from a demon, all you have to do is walk up to the demon. It will put a little fire ring around your feet that will notate that you now have the power active, and your tray will also, the A button will transform into an image of that demon. You won't be able to progress throughout the dungeon any further until every member of your team acquires one of the powers. You want to make sure that your whole team acquires the same power, that way you're not split up when you reach the mini bosses, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. The power that we obtained allows us to be able to break chains easily. When you enter into this room, you'll see that you have some adds here that you have to fight. And one side of the room is going to have some poison in it, and one side of it's going to be clear, but they're all blocked by these chains. Once you clear these adds, you would have to sit here and DPS these chains in order to break them. However, using the power of that demon, it breaks the chains super fast if you just press the A button on them. You want to also make sure that you're only breaking the chains that are on the clear side. You don't want to break the chains that are blocking those poison paths, just because that releases the poison and it'll start spreading throughout the arena. Continue fighting mobs and breaking chains until you've broken 4 chains in total. Once you reach this last pack of adds after that 4th chain is broken, these adds right here will spawn more imps in, and it'll just like kind of replicate, and there'll be devils everywhere. Just make sure that you clean those adds up. Once they're all defeated, it will trigger a cutscene. After this cutscene, you're going to be transported into a room. Inside of that room, you're going to have to fight the demon that you took the power from. So if everybody took different powers, everybody's going to teleport to a different place. That's why you all want to make sure that you stay together. We took the Garistro power from him, so we're going to be fighting the Garistro. He has a lot of mechanics that are similar to Demogorgon. It's actually kind of the same. He puts the red AoE around him, and he'll swing his fist, and if he hits the tank, it knocks the tank back and stuns him onto the ground. Tanks want to make sure that they avoid that, because the red AoE can hit really, really hard if they just stand in it. You don't want to do that because it'll actually one-shot you as well, especially the DPS as well. Once this demon is defeated, you'll teleport once again, and when you teleport this time, you're going to be inside the room with the first boss. The first boss in Infernal Citadel is Morzach. He is like this night spine looking thing, bony looking grossness. Anyways, you're going to want the tank to go up there and grab him before any of the DPS make any moves towards him, because if any DPS do move towards him and he sees you, he's going to kill you. You do not want to mess with him. Let the tank get him. Morzach does a couple of different attacks. He has a claw swipe. He'll do this move where he jumps back a little bit and then dash forward. He will do a series of slashes with his little claws. He'll do a tail stab, and he'll lift off of the ground, fly up a little bit, and shoot out a bunch of spines everywhere. When he does this move, if the DPS all move in close to him, as much underneath him as possible, you can avoid a lot of the damage from that attack. Throughout the duration of the fight, there will be some little gas spore sacs that will spawn into the room. If your DPS is really slow and you're not progressing the dungeon fast enough for this boss, you'll need to clear those spore sacs, because if they explode, they release this poison gas onto the ground, and if you have too many of them going off over time, the whole arena floor will be covered and you won't actually be able to DPS the boss because you'll be dying because you'll be standing in all of this poison. Once you defeat Morzach, he will drop a Hellforged chain and a Bone Devil Spur. Only one player can receive each of these, so players must roll on them if they are trying to obtain the gear these are used to purchase from the campaign store. Each player can only receive one drop from each boss each week, for a maximum of 3 total pieces a week. Once that's all settled, you're going to continue on into the Citadel. You're going to have several packs of mobs in here. Again, remember, let your tank lead and get these mobs. They will one-shot you. Avoid all of the red AoEs on the ground, as those will also one-shot you as a DPS in here. Continue throughout here killing these packs of mobs, and as you go, make sure that you light the braziers in the room, because you won't be able to progress completely through the dungeon if you don't light each one of those braziers. The first brazier is located over here. You can't actually interact with the braziers while you're in combat, so you can either kill everything first or wait till you're out of combat because everyone moves further away to interact with them. Once the brazier's lit, and if you walk up to the edge right here on the side, this piece of paper that's on the floor right here will normally be glittering. Interacting with this piece of paper will earn you the title, the Fearless. After collecting the title, continue moving forward. The next brazier in the room is located right here. Once you've made sure that brazier is lit, continue up the stairs and you'll fight these last mobs. And then right around the corner is going to be the third and final brazier that needs to be lit in this room. After all braziers are lit, you will progress through the Citadel ruins and into the Citadel until you reach the second boss. You'll encounter several packs of mobs. The rate at which these mobs can be killed are entirely dependent on the group. Some groups go mob to mob, while others go door to door. Just make sure you don't overwhelm your team if you choose to do bigger pulls, and also that your whole team is aware of what you're doing. If so, you don't want to leave anyone behind. It is more than okay to just go group by group as well, especially if you're new to the content. This is actually preferred. Again, make sure you're dodging all red AoEs and letting the tank get the aggro. All of these AoEs in this dungeon hurt. You do not want to stand in them. Once you're inside the Citadel, you want to make sure you have to fight 5 packs of mobs. If you keep running past them all and do one big pull or anything like that, you may leave some of them behind. So you always want to make sure that you're grabbing all of the enemies if you are doing that. Newer players into this content are going to want to go group by group throughout here, just because they do hit hard, and the AoEs, they put a lot of AoEs down, and sometimes they can be hard to avoid because it gets to be so many of them. So just judge your group and make sure that you're playing to the best of your abilities to accommodate all members of your team, and you're not causing any unnecessary deaths in doing so. Once you've cleared those 5 packs of mobs, you're going to progress into this next hallway and series of hallways. You're going to be clearing out some more demons. Just move through once again, letting your tank lead, and the DPS being careful of the reds. Healers try to stay on top of healing everyone. When you approach the exit door up here, there's going to be 2 packs of mobs. It's very easy to accidentally pull both packs of those mobs together, even if you're not trying to, which is a lot of enemies. So just make sure that you go through this area with a little extra caution so you don't die. Once defeated, enter through the door, and in this next room there's going to be 2 devils that you're going to have to kill. Once those devils are killed, you'll be able to enter into the second boss. The second boss is Zaphael. He's a big old devil dude with a big old hammer that is going to hit somebody. The tank will play an important role in positioning this boss. Each time Zaphael does his overhead attack, he will create a ring of fire that will expand around him on the floor. If you have melee DPS, they can't reach the boss to attack because he's in the fire, and they'll take damage if they do so. So the tank will need to reposition the boss so they have access to him to be able to do damage. Zaphael will spawn large red AoEs underneath each player throughout the fight that you will need to move out of. If you remain in these AoEs, they will kill you. Zaphael will phase out around 75%, 50%, 25%, and 7% health. Each time this happens, 2 imps will spawn and grab 2 players in chains. These players need to be broken out as soon as possible so that all players can hide behind a pillar. and seek shelter from the big old fire blast that happens. While you're back there, the pillars shield you from that blast. If the tank also hid behind one of the pillars, the boss is randomly just going to charge at somebody whenever he goes back to attack him because the tank broke line of sight with him. So the tank will need to re-establish aggro on him again once he starts attacking. Tanks can survive the blast, however, a lot of them do not. Better safe than sorry, just hop behind the pillar and re-establish aggro. From this point on in the fight, there will also be small red AoEs that form around players that will need to be placed away from the boss and not in anyone's path. It's very easy to just run them up against the wall and drop them half in the wall and half on the ground. The overhead swings from this boss hurt as well. The tank needs to make sure that they are blocking to take those, and they may need to use some form of personal damage mitigation to survive them as well. Continue through the phases, playing out the mechanics, moving around the arena, avoiding fire as much as possible, and breaking your teammates out of change until he is defeated. Upon defeat, Zaphael can drop a Bone Devil Spur and a Fire of the Pit Fiend. Again, this is currency used to buy the Lion's Guard gear from the campaign store. You'll have to roll on it with your teammates if multiple people want it. Progress through the dungeon and out of the door into this land here. These little pillars right here, when somebody jumps on them, they fall. So if you follow too closely behind someone jumping, those pillars are going to drop out from underneath you and you're going to fall to your death. They'll respawn after a couple of seconds, so you'll be able to make your way across. People control people and just kind of jump across and make people fall. Also, you can also fall through the hole trying to do that, which is what I was trying to do. Oops. So just, anyways, make your way across to those mobs over there and then kill those mobs. Once that pack of mobs is dead, you're going to go up this hill right here. If you stay hugging the right wall right here and just proceed all the way around there, hugging the wall, you'll bypass this little imp right here because he won't have line of sight and this chain will instantly break. However, if somebody runs up the middle right there, that imp will grab them and chain them, and you guys are going to have to kill that before it kills them. Continue up the hill and kill the packs of mobs as you go. There's one more imp up here. The tank can usually break that chain if he just hops over the little hand of that statue. Otherwise, it's going to chain him and you're going to have to go grab him out of that chain as well. And once he's free from that chain, then you'll have another set of mobs right here that you'll have to kill. Once this set of mobs is defeated, you're going to want to hug the left wall and progress through this next section, hugging the left wall so that you don't aggro those ads over there on the right, because you don't have to fight them if it's not necessary. As you approach this last pack of mobs on this top portion here, there's two imps on the two sides right here. You want to let your tank run up there first and get himself chained by both of the imps, because he has a lot more survivability than the DPS does if they are chained, because it does do damage to you while you're chained. You guys are going to want to break the tank free from those chains as soon as possible, because once one of them dies, they kind of play tug of war while they're both alive, but once one of them dies, he continues to suck the tank towards the edge. Anyone that's caught in that chain that doesn't get set free by the time it reaches the edge, they'll fall off there and they'll have to run all the way back up here. Jump across these little islands after he's free and everything's dead and kill these two packs of mobs leading up to this final boss room door. The third and final boss is the Hellfire engine. During this fight, it is important to work together as a team. The Hellfire engine will spawn red AoEs on all players. Each time this happens, each player will be hit with a firebomb that will incinerate the floor panels. After 2 hits, the panel will turn to lava. The preferred strategy for this is to have all players stack on one tile so that only one tile is removed from playable space at a time. Most groups will start in the back right corner of the room and work their way across the floor. After the boss does the fire bombs on all players, he will initiate a spin attack where he shoots fire out of his mouth during the first ones and lasers out of his side in addition on the subsequent ones. The team just needs to position themselves at the backside of the boss and travel around him as he spins. After the spin, the boss will target one player with a charge attack. The person targeted needs to avoid aiming the boss in any lava that is present. Additionally, one single player will be targeted with a red AoE. This player needs to run it to the next tile in line to be destroyed. If they can't make it all the way there, just try to drop it against the wall and not in the center of the room. After the single firebomb, the tile floor will erupt in rows with fire spurts, and then the cycle will repeat. Once the second spin happens, the boss will now chain the player with aggro, and there will be a heal check here where the boss breathes fire on the chained person. This used to actually do damage and needed to be healed, however now it doesn't really do anything. After a certain amount of HP has been depleted, these little Tonka truck looking things will start to spawn in. Be careful of these, as when they explode and you're close to them, they'll knock you back and they can knock you into the lava and kill you. The last 20% of the boss is a DPS check. You want to make sure that you have your debuffs available for this so that you can make sure that you can defeat the boss in the allotted time. When this boss is defeated, he will drop a Hellforge chain and a piece of Hellfire engine paneling. Once that's all sorted out, continue through the door and someone will have to run up and interact with that big red crystal thing up there to make the chest appear. The key for this dungeon is the Hellfire key, which can be made in the Descent into Avernus campaign. Before we leave this dungeon, there's one more thing that we're going to want to do. Turn around and run back through the boss room that you just entered and all the way out there to where those islands were that you crossed. You're going to need to jump. You want to try to jump towards the left side of the map, like next to this chain, jump to the left. I try to jump across the chain and then run, and then I accidentally fall off, which sucks because it sends me all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon. Just go to the left right here, but I went to the right like an idiot. So, once you've done that, you're going to reset either at the beginning of the dungeon or at that second boss, like the second campfire after the second boss. If you went all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon, just run all the way back through real quick. You want to get yourself back to the campfire right after the second boss. Once you made it to the second campfire, traverse across these pillars that fall down and run up the hill. Be careful if the imp wasn't killed before because he can still get you and he may kill you even though the dungeon's defeated. Run all the way back up here until you get right here to where this statue is. Once you reach this statue and you look off the edge, you'll see that there's a pillar out there. There's a little ledge right here that you can drop down on. The goal is to jump from this little ledge to that pillar, and that will achieve the title for you. Once you've achieved your title, just sit back and watch as your friends try to achieve theirs. It may take a while. Oh look guys, it was a flawless. You're welcome. Eventually your team will make it onto this platform. Once they've all made it on here, you can now, you don't even have to wait for everybody. We just did it for the sake of this video and because it's funny watching them fall. But once everyone makes it onto the platform and obtains their achievement, you guys can just jump off and defeat yourselves. That way you can go back to the campfire, you can signpost out, or you can just press the select button and whenever you select your name up at the left side and choose leave map. That's it for this dungeon. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you all get some good loot and I will see you all next time. Bye!